Okay, we've got another long one. Welcome to Spell a Day, where we cover a spell every day for an entire year and then 3 homebrew mixed on top of that. Today's Etherealness. Seventh level transmutation, cast time of 1 action, range of self, components verbal somatic, duration up to 8 hours. You step into the border regions of the ethereal plane in the area where it overlaps with your current plane. You remain in the border ethereal for the duration or until you use your action to dismiss the spell. During this time, you can move in any direction. If you move up or down, every foot of movement costs an extra foot. You can see and hear the plane you originated from, but everything here looks gray and you can't see anything more than 60 feet away. While on the ethereal plane, you can only affect and be affected by other creatures on that plane. Creatures that aren't on the ethereal plane can't perceive you and can interact with you unless a special ability or magic has given them the ability to do so. You ignore all objects and effects that aren't on the ethereal plane, allowing you to move through objects you perceive on the plane you originated from. When the spell ends, you immediately return to the plane you originated from in the spot you currently occupy. If you occupy the same spot as a solid object or creature when this happens, you are immediately shunted to the nearest unoccupied space that you can occupy and take force damage equal to twice the number of feet you are moved. The spell has no effect if you cast it while you are on the ethereal plane or plane that doesn't border it, such as one of the outer planes. At higher levels, when you cast a spell using a spell slot of 8th level or higher, you can target up to 3 willing creatures, including you, for each slot level above 7th. The creatures must be within 10 feet of you when you cast this spell. Okay. This is the Etherealness potion as a spell. I mean, who doesn't want to go ghost? I'm sorry for that reference. You can just shoot me now. No, but in some honesty, the fact that specters and ghosts and that sort of thing do have ethereal properties and can phase in and out or phase through objects, it's a useful thing. Not to mention, this is the best spying spell. Bar none. Well, I shouldn't say bar none, but it's pretty good. Well, you can't interact with anything there, that's a benefit, partly, because nothing can affect you, unless it's something that's already on the ethereal or some home rules and such. I knew someone who ruled that force damage also hits things on the ethereal plane. I don't know. While this does give you 8 hours of time, not concentration, which is nice, it is all difficult terrain. Every foot of movement costs 1 extra foot. It is all difficult terrain, essentially. So depending on how far you're planning to travel or how fast you're trying to keep up with someone, that might hurt a bit. Also, 1 action for this. That's not that bad for an 8-hour non-concentration spell. And upcasting, target multiple creatures as well. Pretty good. But you can still perceive the world around you. Yes, it's only up to a 60-foot radius of things that you can actually see. But you can see, hear, still touch, you just can't interact with it. And it's this weird ghostly fading. So, while a room might have protection from divination, it does not have protection from someone who has etherealness cast on them walking in through the door, and they can't see that person ethereal either. The question of its danger I would bring up is just, depending on the game and how you run the ethereal, because it is one of the most vague planes. At least in the base stuff given in the DMG. Hell, even the Astral's fleshed out more in some expansions, and then also especially in Spelljammer, but then it's a bit different. I'm not getting into that. It's hard to say, even though it has a big chunky stat block, it's hard to say anything more than it because it just gives you the etherealness feature, so you can, it's going ghost. You can phase through walls, you can walk through different locations, you can still slightly perceive things going on, and you yourself can't be seen. And when it comes to the spell ending, just don't be in an object. Then you won't take damage. The only issue I have with this is the fact that it's 7th level. Potions are really expensive and they're very, I can't remember is it legendary? Or just very rare? In either case, 7 out of 10. Just because you can't be hit by anything, you can travel through great distances, you can phase through doors, you can get through 8 out of 10. You can get through traps, you can just walk through castle walls. The only issue is it's not multi-target, it's the level it's already being cast at. Because you also can't interact with anything until you come out of the ethereal plane, and it's not a hop out, hop back in scenario, it is an end. But being able to just walk through a dungeon ahead of time, entirely, and then come back out and just say like, oh hey, here's all the things I saw, or walk through a door, and yeah, there's things like teleport, but most of those, in like Misty Step and Dimension Orb, most of those you need to have a vague idea what's going on the inside, where Etherealness gives you the option to still do that and travel, but to actually take time traveling. You could scout out a whole complex patrol patterns. You have 8 hours to do this. Yeah, 8 out of 10. Yeah. God, I'm now thinking, because it's an action. You could just entirely ditch a bad scenario? I mean, you could do the same, I don't know. You could do the same with teleport as well. So, Hmm.